Hey, welcome back to the English Talk podcast. I'm Paul.
And I'm Emma. And today's episode is going to hit home for a lot of people.
Let me ask you something. Have you ever scrolled through social media for like an hour and then suddenly realized you have no idea what you just watched?
Paul, that was literally me last night. I opened TikTok for a quick break, and next thing I know, 2 hours are gone. And my brain feels like mashed potatoes.
Exactly. And the worst part is, it doesn't even feel relaxing. It's like we're feeding our brains junk food nonstop and expecting them to still function at full speed.
Right? I feel drained, but didn't actually do anything. Focus? Gone. Memory? Questionable. Deep thinking? What's that?
That's why today we're talking about something a lot of people are starting to call brain rot. And no, we're not exaggerating.
We'll break down what it is, what's causing it, and most importantly, how you can start fighting back.
So if your brain's been feeling foggy, distracted, or just not like it used to, this episode is for you.
Let's get into it.
All right, so let's start with the obvious question. What exactly is brain rot?
Well, technically, it's not a medical term, but people use it to describe that feeling when your brain just feels mushy. Like you're mentally foggy, distracted, and can't focus on anything for more than 5 seconds.
It's like when you've been watching short videos or switching between apps for so long that your brain doesn't even want to read a full paragraph anymore.
Exactly. And let's be honest, we're all guilty of it. You open YouTube, then switch to Instagram, then TikTok, then back to messages. And by the end of it, your mind feels totally scattered.
It's this constant, fast paced stream of content that keeps your brain in reaction mode. You're not really thinking, just scrolling.
And it's sneaky because it feels like you're doing something. But really, you're just passively consuming. No creativity, no reflection, no learning.
And over time, that leads to a serious drop in attention span. I mean, there are studies showing that our ability to focus has dropped dramatically in the past decade.
Yeah. And it's not just focus. Brain rot also affects memory, motivation, and even emotional regulation. You start feeling numb, tired, and less excited about everything.
So, in a way, brain rot is like mental burnout, but it's driven by overstimulation, not overwork.
And that's what makes it so dangerous. Because we think we're relaxing when we binge scroll, but our brain is actually under attack.
So, now that we've defined it, let's talk about what's causing this rot in the first place.
All right, so we know what brain rot feels like. But what's actually causing it?
One major factor: dopamine overload. Every time you scroll, click, or watch something new, your brain gets a tiny dopamine hit. It's addictive, and we start chasing that next hit all day long. And the worst part is, our brains weren't built for this constant stimulation. 100 years ago, your biggest dopamine hits came from things like eating, socializing, or achieving a goal. Now it's just cat videos and memes.
Exactly. And that leads to something called dopamine desensitization. The more dopamine you get, the less sensitive your brain becomes, which means it takes more stimulation to feel anything at all.
That's why reading a book or focusing on a single task suddenly feels boring. We've trained our brain to need fast, exciting, constantly changing input.
Another big factor is the rise of short form content. TikTok, Reels, Shorts. They're all designed to grab your attention for a few seconds, then move on. You barely even finish a thought before the next one hits.
It's like mental fast food: quick, tasty, and addictive, but zero nutrition for your brain.
And don't forget multitasking. We think we're being productive, but really we're just teaching our brain to switch constantly and never go deep.
And that shallow attention spills into real life. You can't focus on a conversation, a movie, or even cooking without checking your phone halfway through.
So yeah, it's not just about screen time. It's about how these platforms and habits are rewiring your brain to crave distraction and avoid depth.
Coming up next, we'll look at how this brain rot actually affects your real life. Trust me, it goes deeper than you think.
All right, so now we know what's causing brain rot. But how does it actually show up in our daily lives?
Oh, in so many ways. First off, your memory takes a hit. You start forgetting simple things: where you put your keys, what someone just said, even what you were about to do.
Yes, I've literally walked into a room and had no clue why I was there. I used to laugh about it, but now it happens all the time.
It's not just you. When your brain is constantly switching between stimuli, it doesn't get a chance to process or store information properly. That's why long-term memory suffers.
And don't even get me started on productivity. You sit down to work, but 20 minutes later, you've opened 5 tabs, checked your phone, and forgot what you were doing.
Exactly. Brain rot kills deep focus. It becomes almost impossible to stay on one task without needing a dopamine hit, like checking for new messages or notifications.
And here's a sneaky one: it affects your motivation. You don't feel excited about goals, projects, or even hobbies. Everything just feels dull.
Right? Because when your brain is used to instant gratification, anything that takes time or effort feels too hard. So you stop even trying.
There's also a social side to this. You zone out in conversations, forget what someone told you yesterday, or feel the urge to check your phone mid-sentence.
And let's not forget the emotional toll, feeling numb, anxious, restless, or just disconnected from real life.
It's like your mind is always on, but never present. Always stimulated, but never satisfied.
And that's why it's so important to understand what's happening. Because it's not just about screen time, it's about protecting your mind and taking back control.
Coming up next, we'll talk about what you can actually do to reverse brain rot and rebuild your focus.
All right, now let's talk solutions. If brain rot is real, and we know it is, how do we fight back?
Great question. Step 1. Reduce fast dopamine. That means spending less time on quick hit apps like TikTok or Instagram. You don't have to delete them forever, but be intentional. Set limits.
I actually tried leaving my phone in another room for an hour a day. At first, it felt weird, but after a few days, I felt clear, like my brain had room to breathe again.
Exactly. Step 2 is build deep focus muscles. That means doing one thing at a time and letting yourself get bored. Boredom is where creativity and deep thinking start.
So true. I started reading physical books again, and honestly, it's tough at first. My brain wants to check my phone every 5 minutes, but if I push through, I get this amazing flow state.
Yes, that's your attention span healing. And step 3, replace passive consumption with active creation. Write, draw, talk, walk. Anything that makes your brain do, not just scroll.
Even going for a walk without headphones can feel like a reset. You start thinking again instead of reacting.
Exactly. It's all about rewiring your brain for clarity, not chaos. And it doesn't have to be dramatic. Small daily choices lead to big changes.
All right, ready to wrap this up and give our listeners a quick recap.
Let's do it.
So, to wrap it up, if your brain's been feeling foggy, distracted, or just off, it's not your fault. But it is your responsibility to change that.
Brain rot is real, but the good news is you can reverse it. Start by reducing fast dopamine, rebuild your focus with deep tasks, and replace passive scrolling with real experiences.
Your mind is your most valuable tool. Protect it, train it, give it space to breathe.
And we'd love to know, what's one thing you're going to try this week to take back control of your brain? Drop it in the comments.
If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear this.
Thanks for joining us on the English Talk podcast, where we talk about life, language, and everything in between.
We'll see you in the next one.
Bye for now.